Hi, everyone. My name is Peter Daiga. I'm the president and CEO of ABC Florida East Coast Chapter.
My name is Sonny Macon. I'm the COO of ABC Florida East Coast Chapter.
We welcome you. This is episode number 9 of the Obvious Podcast. It's a production of ABC FEC. As we always say each week, and unless otherwise stated, all of the content reflects the opinions of the guests and the hosts.
And if you like the Obvious Podcast, you can subscribe to it on all of the major podcast platforms, such as Apple, Amazon, Spotify, amongst others, or you can watch on YouTube. Also, on the screen below us, you will see some links to our social media platforms. We're on Truth, we're on X, and we are on Instagram. And if you're listening to us, the links will be available in the show notes.
And we welcome your comments. You can always send us an email at theobvious@abceastflorida.com.
So, Peter, charity has been in the news quite a bit these last few weeks or days. I just wanted to ask you what you thought about who does charity better, the federal government?
I was hoping you weren't going to ask me that question, Sonny.
Or the private sector?
I mean, really? If the federal government puts a gun to your head to tax you and threatens to put you in jail, can you really even call it charity?
Right. Can you call it charity?
So, but I think I get your point. In other words, can the government deliver services, especially needed services like FEMA and other things, So, but anyway, just so that I'm clear, let's be fair about this.
Right.
The kind of charity in my mind is charity that people do voluntarily. From the bottom of their heart. It's not because they push the job of charity off to government, through their taxes and whatnot. So.
All right, so let's forget about the why. Let's just only look at it from a perspective of impact, right?
Sure.
Who can do it better, right? Obviously, I know where we stand on the issue. We have strong opinions on the subject, but I just wanted to have a conversation with you about what you thought about. There were all these news stories about the $750 checks that were handed out to people in Western North Carolina.
And how they were, how Majorca, they're out of money and FEMA's out of money, and yet they gave, many, many millions of dollars.
Yep.
To the aliens or the migrants.
Undocumented migrants is what they call them.
Yeah,
yes.
Undocumented migrants. So, it's troubling, right? I think, when you have a government that says they're out of money when it comes to the core purpose of what that agency was created for. At the same time, in the news that week is, out of his back pocket, our president finds billions of dollars, to give.
Lebanon.
It's like, they didn't need Congress's approval for that.
Yeah.
So,
Lebanon,
why are you making
Ukraine.
it all of a sudden, an issue of this, what the Speaker of the House is doing or isn't doing with regards to supplemental funding for FEMA? Right. I mean, so that's problematic in and of itself, right? We shouldn't be having those kind of conversations when, people are suffering. They need immediate, one of the shocking things to me is somebody's, like Fort Bragg is like, I don't know how close or how many miles away from,
it's very
where
close.
you probably got all this equipment that could clear roads and make temporary bridges and God knows what else. I mean, it's quite frustrating,
right?
I think as an American, So, but this is often the time I think in catastrophes and in hard times, and we could get really philosophical about that, but that's when the best of people shines, oftentimes. So, and so that's why we're here today. I think is to talk about one of those things.
Talk about what the opportunity people have to rise to be the best that they can be in a moment where there's so much pain and struggle around. And so, with that being said, would you like to introduce our guest?
Sure. So it's going to be a long process, for the people that have suffered from one or more natural disasters that have happened this year. And a number of years ago, ABC, this chapter, had the foresight to, form our own nonprofit foundation, with the idea of helping, our own, so to speak. So here to kind of talk about that process and how it got started and where we're at today is our special guest. So, Aaron, you're the Director of Development for the ABC Cares Foundation. Welcome. It's good to have you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Glad to be here.
You're welcome.
Before I let Aaron kind of run away with the show and talk about the great work he's doing, I just wanted to ask you what you meant by helping our own when you just kind of made that comment about why CARES was started.
Sure.
And I know it started under your leadership, and I know it was your idea. and it's obviously done tremendous work over the years. I'm just curious about the genesis of it all and how
Sure.
and why you felt the need to start something like that.
I don't want to steal Aaron's thunder, but I think ABC, not unlike
Aaron has a lot of thunder, so it's okay.
That's true. Not unlike a lot of associations and nonprofits, we all do a lot of great community work on behalf of our members or our members through us. And we, likewise, for many, many years, our bowling tournaments and our skeet shoots and our fishing tournaments and our, golf tournaments, we would oftentimes partner with a local, charity, very worthy charity that did great work. But what happened is, especially because of ABC's leadership, when something would happen within the industry, where an industry professional or company or needed help, assistance, or was sick, ABC would get the call, because ABC is, I think a
Leader.
In the industry. And we really never ever had a dedicated way to help them, because we always partnered with other agencies. So
Right.
that was kind of the genesis of ABC. It was like, let's have our own foundation where when we have these fundraisers, and then we can do some of our own, fundraising in the industry to try to build, an endowment or, a fund. We can continue to partner with those local charities, that we've done in the past when we think it's appropriate. But we'll also be building up our own fund so that when somebody calls, we can help them.
So it's members calling you, non-members calling you, accident at a job site, death at a job site, asking for help and guidance and trying to figure out how to help those that have been directly impacted.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Aaron, welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us about your role at ABC Cares.
Well, I'm the Director of Development at ABC Cares Foundation, and that's become an all-encompassing role. But primarily, it is to go out there and talk about the good works of the foundation, to inspire our members and construction professionals alike to become part of ABC Cares, to become a supporter, and then also to spread the word about the good work that we're doing so that if tragedy does strike, they think of us and we are able to support those who have been affected.
So that's a really interesting way to phrase it. Peter kind of started this conversation talking about how ABC Cares' genesis was kind of helping our industry when something specific happened. And I know the scope has gotten really broader. And so we were just talking about who does charity better, whether it's government or citizens. Tell us what ABC Cares is doing in relation to everything that's kind of happened in the last couple of weeks with the hurricane and the flooding in North Carolina and Tennessee.
Sure.
And pepper it as well with, what makes our approach unique.
Unique.
Because I think there's some things that really make it unique.
I think that we, born out of need, so we were not just created as a concept, we were created out of a need. The genesis of that is just really in the immediate aftermath of loss. We were getting the call, looking for support for construction professionals and their families. That in that time before their HR processes were kicking in, there was that immediate need for rapid response, financial assistance. So we answered that call. I think from that birthplace, it has evolved into not only things like grief counseling or mental health or suicide prevention awareness and addiction therapy, things like that that were helping. But I think also then broaden the scope nationally to all the disaster relief. That can be something like the Maui fire, which we participated in, the Baltimore Bridge, or then 3 hurricanes that we've had in a row here: Ian, Helena, and Milton.
What makes, what ABC Cares is able to do unique, right? Because, FEMA might be there, or, the state is amazing.
Yeah. What makes us different?
Well, I think it's our connectivity. I think that we know our members very well. And in these times of natural disaster, we coordinate with the other chapters like ours in affected areas who also know their members very well. They have their finger on the pulse of the people that are affected by these disasters, and they can distribute that aid in a way that's knowing.
The other thing is the care can be very quick, can it? It can be very rapid.
Yes.
It doesn't take much for a nonprofit like us. We don't have the bureaucracy, FEMA might give you $750, but you got to fill out the application, and maybe in 6 months you'll find out. But
We're more focused on impact, and we're more focused on the direct impact that it has on the individual, not so much on the whys or the hows, but in affecting that impact.
So I just wanted to ask you, Aaron, if somebody writes a check for $2,000 for CARES and says, I really wanted to go to the people in Tennessee, right? How much of that money will go to the people in Tennessee?
Well, I'm very proud to say that in that case, 100% of the money would go to the people in Tennessee. So in a time of natural disaster, that pillar of our organization that deals with natural disasters, those are restricted funds. Those funds, 100% of them go directly to that which is desired by the donor.
And so for unrestricted funds, when somebody says, I want to support anything that CARES does, whether it's mental health or disaster or assisting our industry when people have been hurt on the job, when they write a check to ABC CARES, how much of that money goes to the people in need?
Right. Thank you for asking that question. So in the general fund that goes towards the things as you'd mentioned, it's 97 cents on every dollar goes directly to support the mission of assisting construction professionals and their families during challenging times of sickness, injury, and loss of life.
So ABC CARES is only committing 3% to admin costs.
That is correct.
That's great. I can tell you that's not true for most nonprofits.
For sure. And even more impressive in my mind is what the bulk of that 3% is, because we have an independent CPA, review our financials and do our tax return every year. So it's, you have that. We have a number, of profound supporters, right, of the foundation, member companies and whatnot. Can you talk a little bit about them?
So we have levels that are suggested. Champion, Legacy, Pillar level members. One of the larger members, Moss & Associates Construction Company, they committed to 5 years. It's $25,000 a year for 5 years.
And even in the years prior to that, I think one of our profound supporters that really kept the ABC CARES alive was Clay and Jean Fisher for many years, a past chairman of our board at the chapter and been on the board for many years and is now a trustee. Because the bylaws of the foundation require trustees to be past chairman of the chapter, not currently serving. So
you reminded me of a question to ask Aaron. Is ABC CARES part of ABC, the chapter, or how is that organized?
Well, ABC CARES Foundation is the charitable affiliate of the chapter.
So it's a separate 501c3?
Separate 501c3.
So your donations to ABC CARES are completely tax deductible?
They're 100% tax deductible, and it's in a separate fund from the chapter.
That's wonderful. And what would somebody do if they wanted to donate to ABC CARES?
So we're going to put a QR code up on the screen right now, and if you are not watching us but you're listening to us, there'll be a link in the show notes. It's a QR code that you can go and donate to disaster relief. On that page, also in the corner, you'll see a button that says donate. That would donate to the general fund.
So we wouldn't be able to do any of this without our supporters, our folks that give generously. In recent weeks, obviously the disaster relief has been huge. We're still collecting money. It'll be a long time in recovery, so we would encourage anybody who's got a heart. We oftentimes refer to ABC CARES as the heart of ABC. Donate, because and if you want to designate it for the disaster relief, 100% of what you give will be given to the local communities that are suffering. So we partner with 5 different chapters, I think, as it stands today. So those chapters will be given a share of the money that's designated for disaster relief, and they'll figure out the ways most appropriate for them to distribute it. So anyway, disaster relief's been huge. But it's not all we do, right? So I know it can be a very difficult conversation, but you in the last days, have been out in the community giving checks approved by the trustees for people. Talk a little bit about those stories.
So those stories, that's real life. Real things are happening, and we visited the widow of a man who'd worked for over 20 years for the same company in construction, worked all the way up from garbage removal to foreman, running his own jobs. He was always known to be a stand-up guy, and
this was a job right down here in South Florida.
Down here in South Florida,
North Miami Beach. It was in the news, I think.
It was in the news. There were some some hurricane winds, and a piece of equipment blew over in some of those winds, and there was a fatality as a result. The gentleman was always known to be a hard worker and always took the extra shifts, and known on the job site for his Christian ringtones. He had a young wife, and
So you went and met with that young wife and her
toddler,
young
her
daughter,
infant wasn't even toddling yet. Her infant on her hip. And we went to bring her a check, and she looked totally lost.
Sure.
And when we gave her that money, it just kind of gave her a little breath of relief, gave her some time to, like I said, just take a breath and figure out her next
Sure.
move.
There was another one recently, wasn't there? I mean, it's you never know, these things can come and then we can go months without anything, but
Yeah, we have a training institute here. I don't know if we've covered that in the podcast before, but ABC Institute is an apprenticeship college, and we have over 800 apprentices in that college. We have instructors, and one of those instructors had a long career, and now in his semi-retirement, it was instructing students.
I think he was a plumbing instructor in Miami for us for quite a while. I mean, I forget what
It's
year.
2016.
16, all right. So
cool.
8 years.
Yeah. And he was while he was working, his wife was taking a walk, and she ended up falling over, and no one knew where she was or how to get to her. And by the time they got to her, she was hospitalized for a while, and then that was that.
So that's ABC Cares, right? That's like people in the industry, family, and helping them out. Yeah. And I have no doubt for a lot of these incidents, as people might say, I mean, they're going to have a lot of other help. I don't know whether it's their church or the family or their employer or whatever, but that's not the point for ABC Cares. We wanted to, as an industry, stand up and help and do it quickly. So I think in these cases, they're like happens. In generally we try to within like 48 hours of an accident happening. I think. So.
And what's amazing to me is how many times we've spoken with Aaron, and the money that we gave right away was used for funeral expenses,
Yes.
or used to transport the body back to the family in South America or Latin America, and kind of critical rites of passage that the family is just they don't know how they're going to pay for it, and then here comes CARES, and we're able to support, thanks to our unbelievably generous members and our trustees and the companies that support the work of CARES. It makes a tremendous impact to be able to tell a young bride that you can pay for your funeral, or you can pay to ship the body back to the family where they're waiting. And it's you're right. It's the heart of ABC, and the organization does amazing work, and it's incredible.
And I think that the added to that is the grief counseling and things like that. I think that some of those, the evolution of some of those things that really show since the birth in 2009 of ABC Cares Foundation, it's just continued to evolve and create more wraparound services and has.
Can you talk a little bit more detail about that? How ABC Cares fits into that in 30 minutes?
Sure. And so we just recently got into a partnership with a mental health provider called HARC, Harm Reduction Center. They were larger and able to have more of a scope to affect more of the people that we were helping, because the scope of the people we were affecting grew. We started with grief counseling. And then other
cases that are approved by the trustees, so them and the people around them are we make available. When I say we, I mean our members, and ABC through ABC Cares makes available these kind of grief counseling services. So awesome.
And we, meaning ABC Cares, has recently been going to some job sites and talking a little bit about suicide prevention, and there's been quite a big need and great feedback in the industry. And so one of the things that the Harm Reduction Center could provide is suicide prevention resources, mental health therapy, there's addiction treatment, and so those things we can provide through the members.
Yep. So just to emphasize that point, it's a strategic goal of ABC's, to be a leader in suicide prevention. So ABC Cares is kind of take that lead role at the chapter level. It's a natural fit, obviously, with ABC Cares. But for those that don't know, I mean, I think we're the second leading industry for suicides. Is it 6 suicides for every death in construction?
For every one on-site fatality, there would be 6 off-site suicides. We're the number 2 behind mining.
Wow.
It's really high.
So anyway, ABC Cares is leading the way in that too. Our chapter and our members are leading the way. If people want to give, what do they do? How can they do it?
So abccares.org. The donate button is there for general donations. The QR code that you saw earlier, or in the show notes, the link to that goes directly to the secured
donation page
for that.
All right.
Thank
you for
very much.
joining
Thank
us.
you, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron. Well, that's our time for today. Another great episode in the can, as our director likes to say. If you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe. It's available everywhere: Apple, Amazon, Spotify, YouTube. We're also all over social media. You'll see the links in the show notes or on the screen below me. You can also send us an email, and the email address is...
Don't forget, to comment, send us an email at theobvious@abceastflorida.com. Until next time.
Thank you for joining us.
Ciao.